Able to get back in quickly right after the game the next day and kind of watch our performance. Really thought collectively, offensively, defensively, special teams, probably our best game of working with each other, which we did a lot last year. This was one of those deals where you look at our special teams guys like Tom Kennedy making huge plays for us, and Sione Vaki, different guys in our special teams, and defensively, the way that our guys play, and then offensively, putting it all together. Great performances, again, of course, by Gibbs, St. Brown. We don't talk about him enough, but I don't have anything else to say about him because it's consistently the same all the time. I was really concerned about his ability to play in the game on Wednesday or whatever day it was now. What day did we play on? Thursday? Wednesday, critically concerned about his ability to play in the game, and Thursday went out and put together a performance that was not only strong, but it was just one of those deals that our team needed to see our leader on the field, and I think those guys responded to it in a great way.
How many layers to a plan are there? I mean, you're 24 hours from the game, critically concerned. I mean, we're talking about St. Brown, someone who does a little bit of everything for y'all.
Well, I'll tell you how devoted he is, and it is kind of crazy. Tuesday, the day before the game, I should say, that instead of him being, and he was at dinner with his girlfriend Brooklyn, and I'm on FaceTime with him going through the plan as it may change. He's at dinner, and not at home. So, and I felt bad. He kind of had the phone close to his face so I couldn't see. Then he kind of backed up a little bit. Then I realized, oh my God, I'm coaching this guy at dinner. So we went through the plan and how it may change, him moving positions, other guys moving positions, and that's the other piece to it. The other layers to it is when he does come back into the fold, now you got to kind of move people around. So Tuesday and Wednesday was some difficult days. Our guys, Bruce Gradkowski, he draws most of our stuff. He's probably still upset with me from Tuesday or Wednesday, but he got it done. Coach just adjusted so well to the places we were trying to get guys, and St. did a good job of going out and executing. So a lot of layers, but, they say, you don't stop until the hay is in the barn. There's no hay and there's no barn. You just keep freaking going, man.
Just one more on that. I think St. Brown caught the first pass, and then he left the field, and so maybe you're thinking, it's going to be a little bit of a controlled timeshare rotation for him. Ends up playing 92%. So how much was it just checking in on him after that first play to make sure it was right? Like, how much did it just develop in the moment?
It's always about menus, right? How first 15, first 8, however people call it. You got a way that you're going to attack a team on the first drive, and we were just in our menu. So it wasn't us trying to see if he was ready to go. He made it very clear to me on Wednesday, it's all or nothing. I'm even out there for every play. I was like, well, no, it's all or nothing. So it was more about the menu and how we saw the plays rolling out. Like, we had to get away from the menu a little bit like you always do in third downs, but it kind of went the way that we thought it was going to go. And then once he got tackled that first drive and got up and came off, I knew that he was ready to go. I just wanted to see him get tackled and get off the ground. Yep.
I know I asked you about this last week, with just the value of experience for Isaac, and you said it's not just the experience it's taken from the practice field. With St. Brown down for half a game or 3/4 of a game and the whole week of practice, Isaac said he got more practice time than he'd ever had. He felt it at the end of the week. But also J-Mo, right? Like, J-Mo's been asked to do more, and he's kind of delivered. How much was just that little stint without Amon-Ra valuable to the collective in how they can be utilized here down the stretch?
Oh, it just depended on how they took it, right? The pressure was applied to them, and it was either going to burst pipes or it was going to make a fine diamond. This week, it turned into what it turned into. So I thought that those guys being able to be in those roles, it really puts a big spotlight on you, not only, for the coaches, but it does it for the rest of your teammates. You're jumping into the number 1 role, you're jumping into the number 2 role, and you guys are mixing what you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, Isaac, you're aligning in the slot, you're aligning outside, you're aligning backside, we got you in motion. And the biggest detail of all of that for those guys is the run game, because that is where we have the ability to use our positions totally different than a lot of other teams. You don't even think about some guys in receiving as a run game main threat. But with our guys, because of their ability to come in and block and what we require and what we demand of them, they can come in and do it, and they do it in different roles. But when you're doing it in different roles, and it's a little bit different than what you're used to, maybe you're the interior blocker versus the exterior blocker, or you're the cross blocker, or potentially bluffing ends and going to the next level. There's a lot of details that are connected to that, and that's where I think they got probably the most practice at and a little bit better at last week.
You played the Rams in that playoff game in 2023. That defense was crazy young. How have you seen them kind of come together and grow over these last 18 months or so? Because they are kind of looking like one of the best defenses in the league at every level.
Yeah, their connection top down, and top and down up. I mean, they're very, very talented up front. There's no doubt about it. Their ability to get off the football, pressure you with speed, and then they set the edges as well as anybody else. So now when you take that and put that into totality, you've controlled the line of scrimmage. And then on the second level, now they have backers that can run sideline to sideline. They diagnose really quickly. You see them getting off blocks. The double teams never seem to get them because they're either in front of it or behind it. And then, but the greatest detail, I think Aubrey's done a good job of just detailing their coverage to their front. Doing a really good job of holding shell as long as they can. And then not only holding shell, but there's some different variations in the way that, they're using their hips to make you think they're going to thirds or they're going to halves or holding it just a little bit longer, or knowing when they can cut a route potentially based off of who the personnel is outside. So they do a really, really good job. I think overall IQ is where they've gotten a lot better at, just by playing together, getting older together, but a very, very fundamentally sound, schematically sound, and extremely talented defense.
Dan said part of the plan versus Dallas was to put a lot on Jared's shoulders. What do you make of the job Jared's done this season, given all the moving parts around him?
Man, amazing. I just think that, the biggest piece, of course, that moved is starting the season, not having the same guy that's been in front of him. That's very difficult. And there's a sense of comfort that comes from not only the guy that's directly in charge of protecting right in front of you, but your major communicator, the guy that you speak to the most. So he handled that. We moved that. We're trying to move on that. Had to grow in some situations there, and I think we were able to do it. And then now, even though we don't talk about it, there's also you lose TP and he goes elsewhere, and we move other guys into those receiver roles. The backs are pretty much the same, but you move other guys into those receiver roles, and now J-Mo's in a bigger role, and still having to be able to get the ball consistently to 1-4, and just handling all that and still being able to complete the ball at the percentage that he has. And then the final and probably the biggest thing is not being in the same the consistency of knowing the offense that he was in for 3 years and then coming in, even though there are some things that we definitely do the same, just being able to adjust to everybody around him. He's done a good job.
Scottie, it seems like Jahmyr just continues to grow as a pass catcher. Last week obviously speaks for itself. You've been around him for a few years now. Where have you seen him grow the most as a pass catcher, especially running those routes out of the slot?
I think that we started to see some of this growth going into year two. We have a lot of weapons. I've said that before, and we saw this growth. There's no doubt we saw it. And there were certain things that we did last year, but now with Sam being out, now we're getting to put some of that on tape and letting him utilize some of those deals. I mean, Sam was a great choice runner. Sam was a great strike runner. All these routes, but we're just now finding more ways to get Jahmyr involved with the offense. But where I've really seen him grow probably the most in the last year would be just confidence in coverage and understanding and coverage recognition. If you watch everything that he's doing, even his choice routes, everything that he's doing is probably 0.5 to 0.75 seconds quicker, which is better for Jared, which is better for our tackles, which is better for everybody. So everything he's doing now, it's not that he's running faster. His decision-making is happening quicker, and he's better at the top of his routes. So now that he's gotten that part together, I mean, he's going to continue to get stronger at the top of his routes, just being able to break. I think the sky's the limit. I don't know a limitation, on him as a player. I really don't. This guy can do it. I mean, he can protect. He's sharp as they come. That I've been talking about that for freaking 3 years now, and he's exactly who we thought he was.
You see that 0.5 to 0.75, or can you just tell perception? Because it's so small, but it seems like a
huge difference. No, it's a lifetime. It's exactly right. So the biggest point where you can find it out, Coach David Cutcliffe coached me a long time ago at the quarterback play, and our goal was to get the ball out in 2.6 or better, right? And the difference in what he made me understand, that 2.6 to 3.3, and the pressure that's put on our tackle, and also the pressure it's putting on our immediate front, was such a huge deal. And I didn't know that much about it until I started watching choice routes, right? It was just that ability to make those decisions quick enough so the quarterback could be on his back foot and feel really good about getting it out. But that's what he's doing. He's just out of it so much faster. And it's really easy to see once you put on a choice route from last year, practice-wise, and then a choice route from this year, you'll just see we're hitting our back foot, balls out, he's on it, he's coming out of those breaks, and he's getting run after catch, whereas last year there were a couple where he was coming out of it maybe a little bit later, and now we're making a play, but he's getting tackled for an 8-9-yard gain.
Tom has been super explosive as a kick returner. That's an area where you had a lot of success. What has allowed him to kind of add that element to the return game?
No fear. Zero fear. When you're a returner, you can just imagine it. You got 10 guys that are running directly at you, full speed, most on the same level. There's the windows are small. I'm talking about tiny windows. And then you have your people in between those windows trying to create spaces. So the first thing that a lot of guys do when they're in that mode is they come to balance with their feet. And the moment you come to balance, you're tackled, right? So you have to set the block and go. He's doing a really good job of setting blocks, but he's just fearless. I mean, he is just flying through there, and that is what it takes to be a returner. A lot of times especially in the new way that everything is already compacted, we used to create a little bit more angles and lanes when we were a little bit further apart, and there were, double teams, and there were, like when I was there, when we had, 3 and 4 people linked up together, the wedge, and then, you could create different things. Now it's mono a mono, so these windows are a lot closer, a lot tighter, and he's just doing a good job of just being fearless and running in there, and he has great vision.
Scottie, I think since Jeremy asked you about pass interference penalties and the lack of them, you guys have 2 in the past 3 games. You get some credit for that?
No. Without crying, I told you guys I stay away from the fines. Christmas is coming up, and that is going to be a big enough fine on my pocket. But, what I would say is that our guys are running through contact the same way. Do I think that we maybe could get more? That is up to the officiating and not me. All right, thank you, guys.